Hey, chickadees, I'm Lay Rooster, and you're in the hen house. We got some massive news dumped out today on New World. I know we just had a patch. We had a little patch fixing the economy system and enabling the trades, and then we had the regular downtime patch coming out. But then this new dev blog came out today while I was at work, and it has even more stuff. It references some of the important stuff from the patch. So I wanted to go through some of this and kind of highlight some of the important changes that are going on in the game and that are going to affect you and me and the rest of us in the future. So we're going to go into this. This thing is, I'm scrolling, you can see this is a lengthy blog post, a little much longer than the patch notes and everything. I'm not going to try to read this whole thing, but I do want to talk about each of the issues, pull out some quotes, and just kind of talk about how that's affecting us and in the game. So this is a dev blog from Luxendra, the community manager, and they're like saying, "Hey, adventurers," they said, "Well, we've been working hard. Let's see, we're resolving things, but we want to provide an update on issues we believe are most critical to our community, and let's talk about this stuff." So they talk about character transfers here. They're saying we really want everyone to have a chance to have a transfer. And that the transfers should all be re-enabled, and most people should be able to move their characters. They talk about the FAQ. This is kind of yada yada. They want to get some feedback, etc. They'll offer the additional transfers if needed, and they want to make region to region character transfers, but it's difficult to solve and will take time. So that sounds like that's the kind of thing that may happen, but is going to take a while, and at least they want to acknowledge that. So it's good that they're not saying it's not going to happen. I know people were upset about that. So full server status here. Ensure that, let's see, folks actively playing on a server are not competing in queue with new players. We've got a full server status to prevent new characters from being created. So they're monitoring that and making sure that it continues to be accurate. And that may mean that new players can't get on there with their friends, and that some of these servers are not getting the volume of new players that they might need, etc. They said they're going to continue to monitor that, make real-time adjustments, and provide 24-hour notice for servers marked as full. So we'll have some idea. So if you are coordinating with your friends, you'll have at least a 24-hour window to get into that, is what it sounds like. All right, now economy and deflation. You can see we already start getting some charts and all that, and it starts looking like we're in a tax and economics class. So there's a lot here, and I'm just going to try to skim some of this for you. They're saying there's a lot of feedback about the economy. They want to talk about it. They're saying they want to make sure gold is valuable to all players, even in-game players. They are going to talk about this a little further. They're saying the current state of the economy. There's like looking at the data, right? They're saying it's okay. It's within acceptable levels. They're saying that people are generating more money than they're spending, and so we're generating wealth. They're saying that, and then they're going to say that that's an okay thing. They are saying that when we look at surplus income, so the wealth generated by level, it's much higher in the levels 1 to 35. Okay in the 40 to 59 range, and starts getting much narrower at level 60. So they're saying as more players get to level 60, this will start to put more pressure on the economy because people will have less wealth to spare, and that wealth is what we use to buy things from other people to make them richer, and share the wealth. So they got some charts and all that. Again, you can get onto this in the forums here, but they're saying the charts show the difference between gold that comes in. I'm going to skip some of this stuff. But one of the things they are saying here is players are consistently generating a positive gold balance every day, but there is a downward trend. If this trend continues and we get closer to a negative in versus out, we will take action. They don't want to drive it to zero. They do want to make it so that we can amass wealth, and we want to ensure that overall gold balance per server stays in check, so coin remains important. Okay. So they got a whole, we learned recently that they apparently have a whole economy team. Apparently they're spending time making these graphs and charts. So there you go. How much of your $40 game went into the economy there? They said 2 big changes that are going to help the economy. So they're sneaking some of the stuff in. I got to let you know. One happened last patch, and one just happened. The first is fixing The Azoth staff bug. This will allow players to complete high-level corrupted breaches, which generate good gold per hour, right? So, okay, if you can do the top end, that's going to help the level 60 people get gold. So, kind of like, yeah. And then they just turned Outpost Rush back on. They're like, hey, Outpost Rush, you should be doing that. Make sure you're doing that. Again, high-level, in-level players playing that, getting gold. All right, so, however, they said they're reminding us that there's a big gold bonus, 10 times gold for your first 3 faction missions each day. So they're recommending that everybody work on grinding out their first 3 faction missions in a day. If you're not already doing it, be aware that that's a mechanic. They also noted that people don't know that, and it's not well communicated. So they're going to try to improve that so we know more about it. So just a shout out for those of you with your companies and alliances, that sort of thing. Now, in our November major release, not the weekly patch, we have a slew of economic-focused updates and bug fixes aimed at improving the current state of the economy. General fixes include, and here it starts getting interesting, reducing the durability loss from PvP deaths by 10%. Okay, encourages PvP. Here's one big change: extended housing tax periods from 5 days to 7 days without increasing the taxed amount. So it's going to cost less. I was looking at that as I was dealing with my different houses, particularly when the economy was shut down temporarily, because I was like, oh, I don't want to pay this tax and then I only have five more days it's due again, and didn't know how long it would take before I could start making money off the boards. But so moving it to 7 that's good. Reduced attribute respec coin cost by 60%. That is big. That was in the patch notes. That is a big deal. Respecking is going to be a lot easier. I wish I had known that. I respect very recently on one of my characters. So that'll also make it a little more viable for flipping builds too, because it'll cost 40% of what it used to. Reduce the quantity of reduce the quantity of honey gained from the apiaries by 50% and the amount of milk from cows by 65%. Honey trees stay the same, so if you go out and harvest those honey trees, but you could really stockpile a lot of honey and a lot of milk. And if you followed some of my videos and streams, I've been telling you about stockpiling those for the massive amounts of food crafting boosts that you can get from those. So they think there's too much milk and honey. It's a land of milk and honey, and apparently that's a bad thing, is what they're saying. Let's see here. All trading posts. Now, this is huge. All trading posts will be linked. I said what? This change was made to strengthen the economy's less traveled territories and ensure item availability in all territories. They hinted that they were going to do something to make the trading posts work better. So they're linking all of them. That means you can sell something one place, it's selling everywhere. All right, I needed to fix some lighting on my green screen there. So you can sell something in one place, and it's going to be for sale everywhere. And that's not the way the game has worked so far. It's been that territory by territory. So this is a huge game changer for us. It does make it easier to sell things because it won't matter where you are. You won't have to ferry something from one place to sell it to another, which will cut down on movement for that if you're doing that as like a trade person. Let's see. Fees for buy and sell orders are defined by the settlement that you're posting them from. So that'll be based, where you post them. So you may still want to move based on who's got the high tax, who's got the low tax, that kind of thing. Transaction taxes on purchases you make are defined by the settlement in which you are making the purchase. So where you buy it will affect those taxes. So those don't become irrelevant in both cases. Items listed in sell orders that expire are returned to the settlement from which they were posted. Okay. So that'll come in, and then it's no longer possible to place items on the trading post for 28 days. The max is now 14 days, but that's still going to be a big change. Being able to put it on the boards. It also means you can't run around and then work the markets on all these different boards. So if you've been doing that, you're going to have to change your strategy quite a bit. I know I have listings of some things in 2 different territories of the same thing based on what the market was going for and where I had my resources available. So now I'll be able to post it once, and it's going to get spread out. So that's going to lead to a lot of change. Please put your comments down below about what you think is going to happen with that. They say we are amping the potency of expeditions by doing the following. Let's see, increased coin from expedition bosses, starting at Starstone Barrows. by 25% and ramping up to in-game expeditions by 100% per boss. Reduce the coin cost of each of the tuning orbs and increase the corrupted shards players earn from minor and major corrupted breaches. Okay, so cool enough. There's some more changes on this stuff here. Reduce coin cost of chisels by 20 to 50%, depending on the tier. So making it easier. We have talked about these things being very prohibitive, and we'll talk a little bit more. They're fixing some bugs on the repair kits, which will help crafters. It said, again, it just fixes some of the bugs here. So let's move on to economy exploits and coin farming. See, they have a few things to say about this. Let's see. They talk about the coin and item dupes. We apologize for disabling the prayer traded economy. They mentioned that there was a dupe bug when player trading, and people were exploiting it heavily. They do note they will be penalized for that behavior. So those who've exploited will be getting penalized according to this. Also, if you're not sure and you think you're engaging possibly in some exploits, I think now is not the time to do that, because you may suffer the consequences. Don't just do that. They're saying they looked at fixing some of that, some of the impact, and disabling the trades. And then while they did that, that created another problem. But they have permanently banned players who exploited the coin item dupe issue, they say. So, and he said, while we did mitigating this, we introduced a new issue that enabled coin duplication via territory upgrades. Anyway, they talk about it. They do talk about they were removing the coin that from companies that exploited it, but they admit that some people may have accidentally triggered it. So that shouldn't be leading to the same kind of bans, is what, based on that language. They've been able to track it, etc. We know it's frustrating, they say. And they said if town maintenance is behind on a territory your company owes, or if you're unable to afford your taxes due to this, we'll provide a make good. So they're going to be making that good because, of course, we all lost out on our ability to generate revenue during this time. They said on the topic of coin farming, we know they're talking about the annoying chat bots that I know I see them every 2 or 3 chat items in global there. Spamming. They're investigating solutions, and they noticed that the coin sellers were creating new characters to transfer the money. So this is where some of the changes that came out in the patch. They banned and suspended many of the reported accounts. That's fine. They appreciate that you're reporting that, so keep reporting those botters and spammers. They added restrictions to prevent player-to-player trading and currency transfer from characters under level 10 or whose account is less than 72 hours old. So if you wait till after 72 hours, you'll be able to do some trading, or hit level 10, whichever comes first, you'll be able to trade. Now, this is pretty common in a lot of these MMOs, actually, for this exact reason. It's just that was 20 years ago when that was common, or started being common. So redistributed coin value from some early quests to later in the main story quest line. They said basically you're getting the same amount of money, but in the very beginning you're going to get less. That way people get less coin initially if they're in the botting land. I don't know how people are doing all their botting. But so we'll get it a little later. But they made it sound like it's a little later. So let me know if you're experiencing that or have seen that on an alt character. And then let's see. Trading post can't be used basically until you complete the introduction to trading post quest. So again, that doesn't take very long, but I guess if that eliminates people who were logging on, creating a character, and immediately doing the trading, then that's another thing. Now they talk about Outpost Rush here. Let's see. There's a rare issue where people are stuck in limbo in Outpost Rush, and they're trying to fix that. They can't reproduce it. They're trying to get some solutions, and it's not an easy fix. So, it's a cautious rollout to monitor for this issue to appear. If you have an issue with the UI appearing improperly during Outpost Rush, you can do a hard restart to resolve the issue permanently. If you get stuck between the worlds, submit a ticket to the support team. Yes, to get unstuck. And they're saying it's a top priority for them. And as far as they're concerned with the economy and everything, they're saying, oh, that's going to fix higher level gold and people need to do more and more Outpost Rush. So they're paying attention to it. Client-side authority. We've been hearing this a lot since the bigger YouTubers started talking about it, and we've been hearing about some of these bugs and invulnerability, people jumping off cliffs and hiding in midair. They said there was a bug that drove speculation. I'm not going to beat this one in a dead horse and all that. They had made some statements earlier this week saying, to be very clear, New World is not client authoritative from a simulation standpoint. It's entirely server based. Now they go into some of the stuff they talk about, swinging a sword, swinging a pickaxe, some of the stuff they've been saying. I will leave that in there. They're saying it's not. It looks like it. There's a few things in there, and they're working on it. There was a bug. We did have a bug in certain given circumstances that where we were waiting server side on input from a client before processing through to outcomes. They're saying so there was some vulnerability and all that, but they're saying they fixed that, and we corrected that bug in the code the same day we learned about it, then tested to make sure nothing unintended came out of those changes, and published the fix immediately after that. It's definitely a way to get under their skin, is saying they're client authoritative, and they're going to keep responding to it. But they're saying that those bugs are fixed, and it's not how the game works. We'll see. Now, moderation. They're saying it's important. We want it to be fun, inclusive, and safe for the community. There have been problems regarding in-game moderation that they want to address. This stuff was somewhat interesting, too. We do enforce our code of conduct as players report violations they see in-game. Those reports go into a queue to be reviewed by our moderation team. No player reports are moderated without a person reviewing the details of the report. Our team can make mistakes, and we're continuing to train up our growing army of moderators. All right. It says moderation can and has been weaponized as a warfare tactic. Now, we're very aware of this, and they actually have their own view on it. The pattern of behavior is that two rival groups will have confrontations in chat prior to a war or big fight. These groups try to goad one another into code of conduct violations and then eagerly report one another when violations occur. Those violations receive multiple reports, are reviewed by a moderator, and if there is a legitimate violation, then suspensions are issued. Again, these suspensions are not driven by the volume of reports, but the legitimacy of the violation. So it does sound like what they're saying is people have been getting one another to break the code of conduct by what they say and all that. And so that leads to suspensions as opposed to just mass spamming of a person's name. So that's what they're saying. And what they're saying is we still take our code of conduct very seriously. So even if you're goaded in, you need to not break the code of conduct. So sometimes you might have to ignore the trolls in order to get past this, rather than going into COC breaking land, because then they're gonna be like, you're suspended and you're gonna miss your war, that sort of thing. All right, war lag. Here we go. So again, I told you there's a ton here. They're saying war is critical feature, like so many others, and they want it to be good, dramatic, fun, etc. Elephant in the room is the exploits that have been plaguing this feature. The now common practice is spamming the Ice Gauntlet, Fire Staff, or the Life Staff in order to create latency problems while capturing control points. We've made some changes, working on further updates with higher impact. As we stated at the start, war is a focal point. They want our feedback. They're going to keep working on it, etc. That's what that says. Invasion difficulty and participation. There was some confusion over invasions and how they relate to territory downgrades. How far you make it into an invasion does not determine how many stations will be downgraded if you fail the invasion. Let's say the number of downgrades your territory will incur if you fail are tied directly to the territory level of your settlement. Higher your territory level, the more downgrades you incur if you fail. Successfully repelling an invasion will ensure that no upgrades are regressed. All right. It says individually, you'll be more likely to get better rewards the more you contribute to your team. So contribute to your fort's defense and make sure you're giving the corrupted all you've got. We're keeping an eye on the tuning of invasions, and we appreciate feedback. Okay. And they said they've seen two sides to an argument on invasion participation. On one hand, governing companies want to determine 100% of the participants defending against an invasion. But on the other hand, players being removed from invasions feel like it is an abuse of an existing game mechanic to exclude more players from joining. We understand both perspectives, and the team is investigating solutions. So they're saying we're aware, we're working on it. All right. Now, patch schedules and downtime. Here we go. Our goal is to deliver weekly patches in addition to our major releases. That addresses bugs, balance, and more. These patches and releases require server downtime. Let's see. Following launch, our downtimes were taking place during EU prime time. So they were saying that's bad. And this is saying, we know this is frustrating, etc. And they've been listening to feedback and trying to find some different time slots to determine the least amount of players affected. I know last night when they went into maintenance, it was right in prime time of US West. I was about to get on, and I was like, oh, they're taking it down. So they're moving around trying to figure out who gets messed up the least on that. I'd recommend not 8 o'clock West Coast time. And they're going to also look at region by region, but they can't always do that for the large issues. They're saying they may not be opportune. Continue to get some feedback and work on that. Then they talk about luck, another feature we've been seeing a lot of content creators creating about and hearing about. They said there's been a lot of questions about how that works, and of the general type and the rolling higher. And so they do talk about this a little. They're saying furniture, schematics, and found furniture items. The higher end storage items are among the most rare. Increasing your luck will definitely make this more likely to occur, but as with all luck, there's no guarantee you'll get it. They said with the fishing chests, due to bad bots, they've removed the amount of gold you received in the fishing chests. They said, we know this is going to affect your incentives and rewards, and we'll continue to explore opportunities, but they're saying it's because of the bots. Perks and gems. Currently, many issues with how perks and gems are functioning. They talk about the resilient perk, giving damage absorption instead of critical damage absorption. They're looking into that. That's not intended. They're going to try to fix it. It'll say they'll be adding in it to one of the weekly updates. Our goal is to have all issues with perks solved by our November monthly release. All right. I mentioned the 250 strength bug, where apparently I haven't played a strength character yet. But apparently, once you get 250, you can no longer roll. So they are looking for a way to fix that. Property taxes. There you go. We do hear the feedback that property taxes are high and the rate of payment is high. This is by design. There you go. This is by design. Owning 3 very nice homes in different parts of Aeternum is not intended to be easily achievable. We'll continue to monitor feedback and data, but we do not see cause for change at this time. So they're expecting it to be still as high. However, they just lowered property tax essentially by stretching it out to 7 days instead of every 5 days. So that is an improvement on that. Actually costs 2 days less, essentially. So faction tokens, they said that's been a source of pain, and they had already approved it by by addressing a bug where the faction token caps were not increasing. We also increased the faction token cap by 50% for each tier, and this change allows players to earn extra tokens even if you've hit the cap, and you can save up while working to advance to the next rank. They talk about the world clock bug, with world time skipping ahead or behind for worlds, which causes all kinds of problems. They are like, yeah, it's frustrating. We're working on it, and they're going to monitor and look at improving that. Talk about the images and the HTML markup and problems with that. They're saying that resulted in unsavory behavior. We have enabled a fix in each region that should resolve this issue and prevent players from abusing and exploiting this feature. They talk about the crouching bug, where you could crouch to get healing and crouch in sacred ground to get some special healing. That was weird watching people behave that way. There has been a mitigation implemented during Thursday server maintenance, and we'll have a permanent fix and an upcoming patch. So they put some kind of band-aid fix in it, and it's going to get fixed in a later patch. They talk about the watermark system quite a bit. They're talking about the high watermarks, and this is in detail here, but I'm not going to read all of it here. Anyway, there's more information about that, related to how you get your watermark set for your gear. And they do note that it's a system that kicks in when your character reaches level 60 and ultimately governs the power gear drops you receive, and you venture into more and more dangerous areas of the world. So it rolls on a gear score, as we know. So part of what they were saying is, let's see. During your leveling experience, this gear score naturally progresses with your level. So as long as you're fighting enemies at or above your level, you're getting drops that are in a power range that is good for your level. So if you're wondering why, if you're fighting lower than your level, go fight your level or close to it, and you should get what you need as you're progressing. But the problem comes in when you're at level 60. So at cap, it changes. you have this upper high watermark level, and it's a per item type. So we know that's like armor based on like the gloves or the pants or the helmet. All of those, you have to get watermarks set successfully. I'm going to run this into the ground here. And it does say only items drops affect that mark. So anything you buy, anything you craft doesn't help in that regard. So don't waste your time with that part. They are saying, hey, well, they do mention that if you do craft an item that really gives you a leg up so that you can fight the higher level end mobs, you have a greater chance of getting it because you're fighting higher level mobs as opposed to because you used a higher level item. It's that a higher level item might make you better at fighting something. So not all enemies in containers are created equal in the case of high watermark. They said you have a small chance to see an increase when defeating level 60 plus creature or searching a container in that area. Each level beyond 60 has a soft upper cap limit on the likelihood of a high watermark increase. So there's a small chance. So they're saying what this means is that while your reliability mark increases up to 530 when defeating level 61 enemies, your chances of seeing something beyond gear score 530 from a level 61 enemy is significantly lower than it is from a level 62 enemy. Level 64 plus enemies are capable of reliably dropping gear up to gear score 600. So they're saying it's very much level dependent, although there's always a bit of chance. And they talk about, apparently there's a bit of a pity system in here. They said it's not fully random. Every time you defeat a level 60 plus enemy and don't receive a gear item that increases its high watermark type, you're slightly more likely to see an increase the next time. And then they talk about the enemies in the elite landmarks and the expeditions have a higher base chance of dropping the items that increase that. Level 60 plus named enemies are even more likely to drop them, and expedition bosses will always drop an item that increases your watermark. And they talk about competing in for powerful enemies in there with other people in crowded areas creates a problem. They're like, yes, that's true. And they say if you want to maximize your this was great. If you want to maximize your chances of getting the increases in control environment, you should do expeditions, is what they're saying. Garden of Genesis and Lazarus Instrumentality are full of elite monsters. The boss is guaranteed that you'll see an increase. And they mentioned that we know that the tuning orbs for those expeditions are particularly time-consuming to craft right now. So we're in the process of adjusting expedition tuning orb crafting requirements. This is a big deal. We expect to release an update to the crafting requirement for tuning orbs sometime in November after we've vetted the changes. Keep an eye out for that changes. We also heard your feedback on the watermark and tracking and fixing some issues with the final stages of the 591 plus items and creatures dropping the way they intend. So important stuff. The changes to make the tuning orbs easier to obtain and and to make and to have. Sounds like some of those changes are coming into play too. Then they talk about communication here. Basically, they're saying, we're getting a lot of feedback. We like that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They're trying to be more communicative. They said this post is basically some of that. Is an expression of our desire to do a better job of communicating about these issues and feedback we receive from the community. They've introduced the Dev Corner they talk about, where they'll work with the design leads to provide greater insight into how parts of New World work. And they'll make a commitment to post a notice every Tuesday on the status of our weekly patches to let you know how it's looking and when it might ship. For every weekly update, they'll continue to provide mega threads for feedback and bug reporting. And they're trying to just be more actively communicative and present here in the forums on a daily basis. They want to make more improvements, etc., on our known issues. We hear your feedback. We'll keep working, they said. So they just appreciate our patience and close it up. Anyway, that rounds up. This was a big, if you just look at the scroll, as I have to scroll up, we haven't even got to the financial graphs again, and just going through this. I sped through this as quickly as I could to kind of talk about highlighting some of the events. There's a lot of changes in here that are pretty cool. Please let me know down below in the comments what you think. Are these changes enough? Which ones are you most excited about? Which ones are going to change the game for you for good or for ill? the most? Let me know. Also, if you're getting here, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. We're over 300 subscribers now, and we're pushing to go to 400, 500, and eventually 1,000 and beyond. So please help. Thanks a lot. We'll have plenty of that. And make sure you follow the links down below also for the Twitch streams where I stream New World several times a week in the evening and on the weekends, as well as some other games like Star Trek Fleet Command. So check some of this stuff out, and hope to hear from you soon. Take care. CockADoodle do.